Welcome everybody to Tales from the Road. I hope everybody's doing great today. It is 3/7/2026 and we are here minus Miles tonight. We just have me and L29, which is fine. We're going to be doing the podcast tonight and we're going to be having a really great show for you. So once again, guys, you're listening to Tales from the Road, real truckers, real highways, and the things drivers see when the rest of the world is asleep. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight there, L29?
I'm doing pretty good. It's another day in paradise.
Yeah, and I'm doing all right, man. I'm stuck in Colorado up here. They didn't get my trailer done on time, so good time to do a podcast. Guys, you can check us out on yourguyontheroad@gmail.com, talesfromtheroadmedia@gmail.com. Make sure you hit those up so you can let us hear your stories so we can put you on the air and we can tell your truths. We're going to jump right in tonight, L29. I think we have an amazing show built tonight because we're going to be talking about cryptids, the world of cryptids. Now, we know that cryptids are animals or other beings who present and exist that's unsubstantiated by science. The study of cryptids is a pseudoscience, but the cryptids are anything from dogman, woodboogers, Sasquatch, maybe some wendigos. You have a little list or anything? Anything you're?
Sure. A couple more that come to mind. Being a West Virginia native would be Flatwoods Monster.
The Flatwood Monster, yeah.
And of course Mothman.
Well, you also have Champ, the Loch Ness Monster. You have Binup. You have cryptid whales, Dobhar. You have the Oran Pendak. You have the Loveland Frog, the Manapingo. You have the Yeti, the Mermaid. So there's so many cryptids, chupacabras, okay? You have so many cryptids that you can go through, and you have so many things you could talk about. So we have a big subject to tackle here, but we don't have to go into all of them because we have plenty of time later on to do this. But is there any main cryptid that you'd like to hit tonight, or do you have a cryptid story? Maybe you saw one, maybe you've experienced one in the past, or had any kind of experiences yourself with the cryptid world?
Personally, I haven't seen any myself, and looking at some of these legends, studying stuff, some of these you don't really want to experience because some of them will just kill you on sight. Some of them will predict disaster. That's what Mothman's good at. The bridge collapses and such.
Well, let's get into that. Okay, so Mothman. Okay, let's get into Mothman. We can talk about him. Mothman, usually he shows up, okay, or it shows up. We don't know what if it's a man or a woman, but we know it's a legendary winged humanoid creature with glowing red eyes. Everybody knows about the glowing red eyes. Reported sightings around Point Pleasant, West Virginia. The first sightings, obviously, were back in the day between 66 and 67, November to December, and it was right before the most famous sighting of Mothman. Do you know what it is?
I believe it's the one where the year after they built the bridge,
the Silver Bridge collapsed.
Yep.
That's right. So it's usually a harbinger of paranormal disaster. The phenomenon was inspired by a yearly festival in a museum in Point Pleasant. So let's talk about the Mothman. Let's get into the key details of him. What do you know about the Mothman?
Mothman is, as you mentioned, a humanoid creature, usually notated to have about a 10-foot wingspan, red eyes, and it can fly very quickly. There's been statements where it could fly upwards of 100 miles an hour. It chases people on the outskirts of town sometimes.
That's right. So we can pretty much digress. It's described as a man or a bird-like creature. It was first reported in November 15th, 1966, near an abandoned World War II TNT factory. Okay. The folklore and significance, why some skeptics suggest the sightings were misidentified as large birds or sandhill cranes or owls, they always treat Mothman as a significant cryptid in American folklore. There's also a museum and everything else. So around your neck of the woods, how big is Mothman? How big is that reach? I mean, is it a huge reach? Is it prevalent in your community, or is it just localized in your experience?
It's more focused on the northern aspect of the state, but there's annual festivals that you can go, and there's a Mothman statue that, for whatever reason, they has a very toned rear end, and people keep sticking quarters in it. Don't know what that's about, but that's just been in the news.
The cultural impact of the Mothman. Let's see. What has Mothman showed up on besides the Silver Bridge? What has Mothman been around before that bridge or after that bridge? Do we know any stories of that? I have a few. I just wanted to know if you did.
There was a story in about 2016 where a man recently moved to the area and saw a creature jumping from tree to tree, like in the original report from the 60s. And he claimed that he was unaware of the legend until he saw the beast himself.
Right, and so the thing is the way that we're going to approach this, the Silver Bridge. You also have the Chernobyl disaster. I don't know if you know this. Now, this is in Ukraine, okay? In 1986, reports surfaced of a black bird of Chernobyl, similarly described as the Mothman, seen hovering over the nuclear power plant in Ukraine just before the catastrophic meltdown. And September 11th, the terrorist attacks. I'm not sure if you know this, but the creature was spotted near the Twin Towers shortly before the attacks. These are unconfirmed reports, but these are people that have seen this thing. In 2007, the I-35 bridge collapse. I don't know if you remember that. In Minnesota, it was a big deal. A lot of people got hurt. Some people died. A lot of people, to the police officers, reported that a winged humanoid had been seen near the bridge for about a month before it collapses. We can look at the Mexican swine flu outbreak of 2009. They saw it then. The Fukushima nuclear disaster. Do you remember that when the tidal wave came? Okay. Claims that Mothman was seen prior to that earthquake is subsequent near the nuclear. This is worldwide. This is worldwide. Now, is it a jinx? Is it like bad luck to see this thing? Is it skeptical, or is it a warning? Is this thing trying to hurt people, or is it actually causing the catastrophes, or is it just warning people, or is it actually showing up as an omen, in your opinion?
I think it's showing up as an omen. It might just be because I'm from the state that it hails from, but I think it's more of an omen warning people before the major disaster happens.
So if it's a cryptid, okay, what kind of cryptid are we talking about here? Like, it's a weird thing because you're looking at a cryptid, obviously, because that's what it's considered as. But it's not a Bigfoot. It's not a Sasquatch. It's not a woodbooger. It's not a Loch Ness monster. Is it a demon? Is it a premonition of evil or manifestation of guilt? Like maybe somebody didn't build the bridge right or something like. That's what we don't know. We don't know But we do know this. There is unconfirmed reports in West Virginia as recent as 2023, right before that flood happened in North Carolina and stuff. That thing was seen all along the highway area. Didn't you guys have like a landslide or a flood or something recently in the last few years? And then they had that flood in North Carolina. Well, in Asheville, I think it was Asheville, they saw a winged creature there as well. So is this a manifestation of guilt, or is it an interdimensional being? Is it causing this ruckus, or what do you think?
I don't think it's causing it. As I said, I think it's warning people before it happens. It may be way too close in proximity to warn them in appropriate time, but I do think its intention is to warn people. As you mentioned,
Right.
the hurricane. That
was a big deal. They were seeing that up there. Let's talk about the sheep-squatch. What do you know up there in West Virginia about have you ever heard of the sheep-squatch?
That one I hadn't heard of. I'll have to look into it, or
They
can
said
tell us
it's
about that.
it's a beast with dog-like head, ram horns. It's white, woolly hair, and it's only reported in the West Virginia area. Okay, so this thing comes out. It does its thing. It's almost like a booger. I don't know if you know what a booger is, but a booger is mainly in Alabama. They call their Bigfoots boogers. I'll tell you a really shocking story of a booger, but basically when the sheep-squatch, the way I described it, okay, it is a very violent animal. Like it does kill. People think that it's one of those things. It's an elusive, aggressive, highly aggressive and territorial creature. It could be a deadly hybrid of a sheep or a Sasquatch with razor sharp quills. It's known for charging and howling. And I want to digress here. When we talk about the booger in Alabama, a lot of people will talk about like Border Patrol agents, and they have seen this creature. There is a Bigfoot, type of Bigfoot. Now, we know that Bigfoots exist. If you're on this show, you believe in this. Obviously, we believe in some sort of cryptid Sasquatch, I have to assume, correct, L29? So,
That is correct.
this booger that runs around the border, it's an all-four creature, and it stalks the Border Patrol when they're stalking the cartel. This thing, though, it's only in the West Virginia area. This thing is known for charging, howling, and launching its quills. It acts dangerous. It's like an apex predator. It also displays intelligence by waiting to ambush its prey. Basically, it's got high combat. It's aggressive. It's highly hostile, especially towards humans. And I can't help but think that this reminds me of a booger tale. There was a woman. This was about 1967. It's over there in the Alabama area. I think it was near Upper Alabama, towards Tennessee. Or is it? Yeah. So basically, the woman's out there doing her clothes, okay? And she's doing her thing, and all the kids are out playing, and everybody's having a nice day. She's hanging her clothes on the laundry. Well, the kids start screaming bloody murder. And she's out there with her wash bucket. This is in the 60s, but I mean, this is like a rural area of Alabama. I don't remember her name. I don't quite remember all the details, but I do remember a lot. They were literally playing. They were screaming. The woman ran up to the wood line because they were playing near the woods. And she saw this thing tearing through the woods on all fours, and it looked humanoid. And her report to the sheriff, because she made a report because her husband came home, she reported that this thing was on all fours. It had the hands of a human being, the legs of a human, the arms of a human, covered in hair. Absolutely chilling face, almost werewolf-like. It wasn't quite ape or man, but it was more like dog. It had very pinned back ears, they stood up and they were pinned down. You know, kind of how a German Shepherd looks when it's running. It had a very long snout, but it was curved down like a human snout, but it was very dog-like, which became the dogman or the booger. There's other reports of dogman, but I'm going to just go into this. So she grabbed the children, the youngest two, there was 3 total, and she started running towards the house. The oldest was about 12 years old. As they're running, the oldest trips and falls. The woman makes it to the door, slings the 2 young kids, I think they're 3 and 4 years old, into the wooden house. They live in an old wooden type house. She turns around to see what happened to the 12 or 14-year-old, and she sees this thing on all fours galloping towards this child. So instead of running towards the child, she reached behind the door and grabbed a 12-gauge single-shot shotgun. Are you familiar with that gun by any chance? You break it apart, put the shell in. 20 gauge, or it was 12 gauge.
I'm familiar with that very well.
Right. So she already had it loaded. You know, they live in a rural area. So she aims and she fires over her child's head. And this is a big deal. Imagine you put yourself in her position. And the gun was actually fired. I mean, they called the sheriff. There's a police report about this. It's actually real. It's not a lie. I've read the report myself. I was blown away. I'm going to find that report, and I'm going to put it on Tales from Real Media Facebook page, by the way. But she literally shoots over this child's head. I think she screams, "Stay on the ground." The kid's on the ground. It's all happened so fast, right? And she shoots at this thing and clips it right in mid-gallop in the shoulder. It falls on the ground and makes this blood-curdling sound, like this roar, so to speak. And it turns to the northeast and just runs off back into the woods. When her husband got home and she grabbed the kid, they got inside, they locked the doors. That night, her husband was, I want to say he was a salesman, but I'm not sure. I know he wasn't there. The next day, that night when they locked their doors and shut their doors, they heard howls, screams. Their house was being knocked on. They heard a lot of beating on the door. I mean, they were freaking out. And this was a wooden house, you know, and it wasn't a trailer. It was an actual house. It was an old wooden house. She held firm. They stayed inside. Well, when the husband came home the next day, they were freaked out. They went down to the local town. They called the police department. The police came out. They came to the house because that's how it was back then. They didn't have a phone, you know. And this was like the early 60s or late 50s. But they lived in this rural area in the woods. And so when the police came to their house, thinking that it was a bear or anything, you know, maybe a cougar, I don't know if they have cats there. They literally saw this big pit in the ground where this thing fell, and they took a photo of it. I have not ever seen the photo. I know that they had the photo, but they said they took a photo as evidence. And there was this divot in the ground where this thing fell. And what's your thoughts on that story? Like, could that have been the sheep-squatch and just moved south a little bit? Like, what was that?
Well, it definitely sounds like it was aggressive like the sheep-squatch, but you didn't seem to bring up any of the other features that the sheep-squatch has been noted to have for this, called it a booger, I believe.
Well, the reports describe the sheep-squatch as it walks on its hind legs and flees when startled, but it gets on all fours and runs. But so is this maybe, okay, you know how we breed with other races of human beings? Are these things interbreeding? You know, could this have been a dogman and a sheep's? Like, you know, what's your call on that?
I honestly hadn't even considered that the cryptids may be able to crossbreed. It is definitely an interesting concept.
Yeah, because I think they can. I mean, if they're close enough. I know that there are report a guy was in Antarctica and a bear charged him. This is in 2011. and the bear got killed, and it had weird looking eyes. It was freaky. It was unlike a polar bear to just come out of human. They do kill humans, but when they did an autopsy on the bear, this is public knowledge. You can Google this. It was a cross hybrid between either a grizzly or a brown and a polar bear. It was a cross hybrid between the two species. So I know this happens in the natural world. But do you see the point I'm trying to make? Like, that was creepy, like a polar bear bridge. So I don't know if the sheep-squatch and the Bigfoot are crossbreeding, but it's something to really think about, because this woman was chased, her kids were chased. This thing was not out to scare them. I think it was hunting them. You know what I mean? So, and then I know that you have the Blue Ridge Mountains in that area up north, and I know you have the Smokies, and then you have your Appalachians. You know, you don't whistle at night. You don't go to people that call you. Those rules still apply. I don't know if you understand that. And I have family that lives in the Blue Ridge and the Smokies, and the same rules apply.
Absolutely.
Wampus cat. Have you ever heard anything about that? These are all Tennessee, West Virginia area cryptids. Have you ever heard of the Wampus cat?
Very briefly. It's like a panther-like creature.
Yeah, with glowing eyes.
Yep.
Right. And then we can come to the woodbooger. Okay. This is a variation of Bigfoot said to inhabit the Southwest Virginia. I'm pretty sure that could have been a dogman or a woodbooger, but woodboogers are very aggressive. Have you ever heard of the woodbooger up there?
I haven't, and I probably should have, since you saying it's in southwestern West Virginia.
Yeah, Google woodbooger one day, and it's going to scare you. The woodbooger is a very aggressive, very highly tumultuous creature, known to mimic, known to whistle, known to knock. They're also known to mimic loved ones. I think that's part of the don't whistle in the woods myth, don't go to babies crying. A lot of that's attributed to the woodbooger. It is a very aggressive, highly territorial animal. It will strike humans. It will attack kids. It has snatched people. Like the raven mocker, rooted in Cherokee mythology. It's an evil entity that flies at nights and makes bird-like streaks. It's known to take children and stuff. Like when the Native Americans would leave, they would come back, and then the cryptids that came in their camp. These are cryptids that, are absolutely terrifying. I mean, this myth. Go ahead.
The woodbooger thing. I know we covered skinwalkers a few episodes ago. And as you mentioned a few minutes ago, where you think these cryptids might be able to interbreed, do you think the woodbooger might be a crossbreed between a Bigfoot and a skinwalker?
See, I don't know. Because a skinwalker, to me, I don't really know what they are. I think I've seen a couple of those, and let's talk about that. Are skinwalkers cryptids? Do you consider them cryptids? What's your thoughts on that?
I think they definitely could behave like cryptids. I'm not 100% sure if they would be considered cryptids. Some people consider them demonic entities. I've seen other people consider them cryptids.
Well, these legends frequently date back to before the area was fully electrified, adding to the mystique that is described. So, these are ancient, whatever they are. They've been around since before the population. The skinwalker and the dogman or the sheep squatch, I think that a skinwalker is a totally separate thing. I actually believe that a skinwalker is a spirit or some evil. I don't believe it's a cryptid. I just don't think that skinwalkers themselves are cryptids. I think there's something else. I actually think there's something else. I think they're an evil force that's been around. They're an ancient god, a demigod, so to speak, to the other people like the Native American people. I know that there's one God and things like that, but there is evil and there's demons. And I do believe that the skinwalker flows between the nature, and I think the way it skinwalks when it changes from a deer. When you see that deer walking on its hind legs, and there's a dog or a human being in the back, I'm saying that those animals or that creature, that is not doing that to be friendly or to be in nature. I think that's trying to be secretive and very telling. I think that it's demonic in nature, because if a deer speaks, when they used to do like voodoo rituals, they would get the goat to meh, you tricked me, and they'd slit its throat and get the demon to go in the goat. I think there was some kind of ritual where they would, like Jesus threw the demons into the pigs, remember? Those are skinwalkers. See where I'm going with this? I think that could be what they are. Okay. I think that they're possessed demons that can't find a body, and so they find an animal, and they can manifest that animal as they choose. Does that make any common ground with you there?
Yeah, I could see that.
And expand on that. How do you view the skinwalker theory versus the cryptid theory?
Skinwalkers, I could see them as demonic entities where a lot of times they are shown up as deer in an animalistic format, and you see them transform with deer standing on two legs. There's also things around here called not deer, which aren't exactly skinwalkers, but that's similar. We can get into that if you want. But skinwalkers like to shapeshift into things such as coyotes, fox, wolf, eagles, owls. So it's not just deer. And obviously they can mimic human voices.
I think the deer are the creepiest, though, when they do that. Like that pronghorn that night, that photo I got, that was creepy.
Oh, absolutely.
That was creepy. That scares me more than the bird. If something turned into a bird and flew away, I think I'd be okay with it. But that deer stuff, deers aren't supposed to walk like that. I know that they rut and do things, but pronghorns and stuff, that's not normal. I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that at all. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. As we know, they feed on human fear, and sometimes they feed on humans themselves.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing. I don't like that at all. Let's talk about the main one, okay? Bigfoot, Sasquatch. Let's talk about Bigfoot. That's the mecca of all cryptids, right? The hairy one, okay? I have some stories about that. Let me get your theory on what do you think about Bigfoot? Just expand on the Bigfoot theory that you have. Not dogman, not these subspecies, but the main vein, Sasquatch himself.
Alright, so Bigfoot is, as most of us know, a ape-like cryptid that doesn't really want to ever be spotted. There's been spottings all over the U.S. It's a hairy humanoid creature, and there's been people that have taken photos of it, which usually turn out fairly bad, where people debate whether or not it was someone in a suit or if it was actually a Bigfoot that they snapped a picture of. I think they're just creatures that want to be left alone and not be found.
Well, let's talk about. Okay, now let's back up a little bit. We know that. Do you know about the Gimli-Patterson tape, the holy mecca, the holy grail of Bigfoot footage? You know about the Gimli-Patterson, correct?
Of course.
Okay, now with modern science, we have been able to enhance that image, and the thing's got breasts. Okay, did you know that?
That I did not.
That's right. So when they stumbled upon this wash, they stumbled upon this creature. They startled it. They literally saw it running away. Roger Patterson or Gimli, I'm pretty sure Patterson fell off his horse. One of them did. They got up off there. They started reeling this camera. They had to manually reel it. It's 35 millimeter. That creature was the most controversial thing, but with modern technology and all the suits in the world could never. Now let's get this straight scientifically. Every suit that could ever be made in that time frame, okay, can never, ever, ever mimic this suit. We know this. 1967, you didn't have a lot of technology. They went up there to find it because everybody else was finding it. When we zoom in on the creature, now we see padded feet. We see the foot bend, the tarsal ridge. It bends. The top of the foot on a human does not bend. Now, a lot of people can say that's a loose suit, but the way the suit, if there is a suit, fits, I'm telling you that scientists have even said whatever that is real. We're not saying it's a Bigfoot. It has breast. If you look at the new enhanced, digitally, not recreated, not with AI, but enhanced with the modern FBI type enhancement, millions of dollars have been spent to enhance. They literally can see breasts on this animal. They think that now it was walking away because what do wild animals do when you stumble upon it? When it has children, it flees. So you chase it, not the babies. We also know how tall the creature is. Do you want to know with modern technology at the site with LiDAR? Do we know what LiDAR is? Do you know what LiDAR is?
That's what our trucks use, but
do you know how it works?
I think it's a form of radar, but I'm not 100% certain how it works now.
Right. Okay. So LiDAR is this great technology that's so great, especially for these cryptids that hide. It fires rapid laser pulses, usually infrared or non-infrared lights, at such a speed at surfaces, measuring the time it takes for reflection to return to the sensor. The flight data, combined with the known speed of light, determines precise distances to create a 3D map. Now you could penetrate the trees with this. They have found temples. They have found pyramids in South America that they knew were there, but they didn't realize the scope. All of South America was a giant mecca. They could see that now with LiDAR. Now, they go to the Gimli Patterson film site. They use LiDAR. They accurately measure everything. They literally tell you how tall this creature is. It's 6'2". And everybody thinks this creature is like 6'9" and 8 foot tall. And that is even more proof, in my opinion. Because if they were going to fake it, and they knew they were looking for this 7, 8 foot tall thing, which I do believe that these males can get up that high, they would have made something huge on stilts. Why would they go with a 6'2" thing? Right? Why would they do that? Did they know the technology was going to exist? No. Why would they fall off horseback? The way it was shot, that was not an accident. That was actual fluid motion. So, in my opinion, let's just say that the Gimli Patterson film is the most accurate description and depiction of a Bigfoot. I believe that. Do you concur with that, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I do believe that is the best footage that we've got right now, especially now that you're saying that it's been enhanced. There's obviously going to be fakers out there.
Well, why would you put breast? Why in 1967 do you hire some drunk in a bar, put on this suit and give it breast? Like, full-on breast, man. You can see the nipples and everything. It's a full-on female. Absolutely a female. No question mark about it. You don't do that, right? You don't do that in 67. You don't think that far ahead of the game. You're just thinking you're going to film some guy in a suit, sell it, and scare a bunch of people, right? So maybe that was their intention. They did stumble upon this thing. What's your thoughts on the bipedal creature, and did it come across the land bridge? Now, we know the giant Pithecus. I know you've heard about the giant Pithecus. What do you know of the giant Pithecus?
Giant Pithecus. My mind is running a blank right now, to be honest with you.
Well, it's the primary prehistoric great ape, known
Gotcha.
as the largest primate to ever live in Southeast Asia, about 300,000 to 2 million years ago. It was 10 foot tall, 1,300 pounds. It was the modern relative of an orangutan. So, they have its teeth and stuff in Tibet. These monks grind their teeth up and their skulls and stuff. They have skeletal remains of these things, but they eat them and store them and put them in teas. Don't ask me why. But they do, with technology, with the teeth and the molars and the pieces of skulls and stuff they recreated exactly how big this thing would have to be to have a molar that size. This thing was 10 foot tall. Now, a 10 foot tall, 1,300 pound animal, the giant sloth comes to mind. But these apes, are smart creatures. I know they're supposed to win. They have a lower jaw too. You should see it. It's just amazing how big this thing is. But imagine you have this creature that is not intelligent as, let's say, a sloth or whatever. Now, you have a land bridge. It connects to the North American continent because there's no ocean there at the time. The ocean starts running right around the Alabama area, Tennessee. That's all under the water. Great Grand Canyon, stuff like that. So like North Dakota, South Dakota, all that's like grasslands, and that's where you're at. But in Asia, these things are existing. They're not evolved humans, okay? Humans don't evolve. We're created. We have a creator. We're a specific set of species. We can adapt, but we cannot evolve, okay? It's not how it works, in my opinion, because I'm spiritual. Now, imagine this creature is not an idiot. We know the great apes are very intelligent. We know chimpanzees are even more intelligent, right? We know all these animals are intelligent. Imagine this creature, a huge ancient great ape. It knows something's coming. It knows climate's coming, and it goes across the land bridge to flee winter and to flee the ice age. Now you have a subspecies of what we know now as Bigfoot. And these things get to be 8 foot. So I'm thinking that this is a giant Pithecus, just like Nessie and all them could be a plesiosaur. I'm thinking that this is an ancient dinosaur type, thing that just survived. And it's smart enough to adapt, and its brain gets smarter and smarter over the generations, and now it knows to hide. What's your thoughts on that theory?
I think that's a pretty spot-on theory, because say it is intelligent enough to pick up on human speech and such, it could potentially find a way to watch or listen to media and see that people are hunting it, try to hunt it down, and it wants to just be left alone. So it's getting more and more adept at hiding, even though it is such a large creature.
Well, imagine that I tell you that Homo sapiens were around 20,000 years ago. Okay, so if we go back 200,000 years, humans were definitely around 200,000 years ago. We see Homo sapiens in Africa to 300,000 years. Modern humans, 200,000 years ago, hunting and gathering across Africa. These creatures went extinct around 200,000. So you see the connection here. You see where I'm going with this. Like, these things knew humans. They knew them. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to know that these things interacted with these things and maybe even fought them. I mean, what if they even fought them or battled with them, or I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
Here's a thought, because, the spiritual side of things. If you look back in the Bible, do you believe the giant Goliath may have been one of these creatures?
It's very plausible, but you also can say a 6'8" or 7' guy that's going against a 4'8" guy is a giant, right?
Yeah.
But there again, the reports of Goliath weren't that he had hair and all that. And David also picked up 3 stones or whatever because Goliath brought his brothers. But who knows? He could have been a rendition of those creatures. There's so much to get into with cryptids. The Goliath very well may have been a rendition of a giant Pithecus. The ark might have been Mars and picked up by God's hands and put on this new earth. There are so many theories with that. Not that the ark's a spaceship per se, but that we did come from Mars and that we landed on Earth and that there was different gravity and different things going on. That's a whole nother podcast, right? But I'm not sure. That's a really great theory because Goliath was huge. According to historic texts, Goliath was 10 times bigger than any known man. So the average man at the time was like 4'9". So 5'2". So if you're talking huge, 15, 12, 13 foot tall. But he wasn't like these guys that are 12 foot tall or 8 foot, the tallest man in the world who can't really walk that well. This guy was a warrior. So that's not out of the realm of possibility because just because God made the earth doesn't mean he didn't make apes and cryptids and skinwalkers didn't penetrate through the realm and the veil. I'll tell you this quick story because we're running out of time. They say that Native Americans in some tribes, they were dancers and Bigfoots loved to sing and dance. And this one story in particular of a dancer, they were doing the dance and the Bigfoot got a little jealous because the Bigfoot would come, the red man, the hairy one, would come and dance with the tribe. And so when I heard the storyteller tell this story, it's so amazing. She uses mask and rattles. It's amazing. But one day the Sasquatch comes to dance. They're doing the chants. They're doing the dance. They're doing the thing. And the Bigfoot gets a little zealous. The dancers dance a little bit better than him. He kind of pushes the Native American guy, and the guy hits his head and dies. Well, at that point, all Sasquatches in that area got on their knees and screamed because they didn't want to hurt the people. So they retreated to the woods to be watchers. Because I do believe there's different subsects, right? There's friendly, there is nature, then there's dangerous ones. And so these are watchers now, these parts, these ones that I mean. So there was a falling out between the Native Americans that were here before anybody that came across the land bridge, which is scientifically absolutely what happened. And they had this argument. There's also been reports of a Sasquatch species and a red man species where the red man would come take children and women. We don't know whatever happened to them. And we could go into missing 411 too, but they asked the Sasquatch to help against the red man because they couldn't fight the red man. The red man was a different suspect of Sasquatch, and they had a big war and the Blackfoot and stuff like that. And so they won the war, and the Sasquatch agreed to never have contact again, but they would watch from a distance. So there's so many reports of this Bigfoot. I really want to get into it more. Unfortunately, we're out of time for tonight. That's our show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. L29, do you have anything that you'd like to say on the way out? Because, there's no time limit here. Just go ahead and give me your thoughts on final thoughts on cryptids.
I know we didn't even cover like a large percent of them. If you guys have any ideas that are listening, just send in what you want to hear about, and we can add it to the repertoire of stuff we might be talking about.
Well, guys, stay safe out there. Some stories are told around campfires. Other are told at truck stops at 3 a.m. If you ever find yourself alone on a long stretch of highway and something moves in the trees, remember this story, because that might become your own Tale from the Road. Until next time, guys, get us on Tales from the Road Media at Facebook group. Get us at talesfromtheroadmedia@gmail.com and hit us up at yourguyontheroad@gmail.com. Be safe and be good. Until next time, survive and stay alive. Peace.